The majority of U.S. Supreme Court justices appeared this morning skeptical of a nationwide ban on a popular abortion pill. Now, the High Court today hearing arguments centered on mifepristone, one of the two drugs widely used to terminate early pregnancies. It's also utilized to expel remaining fetal tissue after a miscarriage. Today's arguments not only brought hundreds of protesters on both sides of the issue, it was also an incredibly rare event in which the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the pharmaceutical industry are very much on the same side of things. This is the first abortion-related hearing, or was the first abortion-related hearing, before the Supreme Court since the conservative majority eliminated the constitutional right to abortion nearly 2 years ago. CNN's Paula Reed is here to walk us through the legal arguments, and CNN's Meg Terrell will give us the medical facts and data. Paula, to start with you, is it too early to say this is shaping up to be a win for abortion care advocates based on what we heard this morning?
Well, based on what we heard this morning, Phil, it appears that the justices are going to be unlikely to restrict access to mifepristone for now. During the oral arguments, justices across the political spectrum appeared skeptical that this group that brought the lawsuit even has standing or the right to do so. This is a group of conservative medical officials and advocates, all anti-abortion advocates, who argue that they may at some point have to offer medical assistance or treat someone who's had complications from mifepristone, and that's why they want to restrict this broadened access to the drug. But the government pushed back on that, saying, look, you haven't actually suffered a harm, there's no imminent harm, and there's also, as some of the justices pointed out as well, federal religious exemptions that you can avail yourself of. Now, there's another issue that Justice Gorsuch pointed out. It's concern about allowing a small lawsuit to balloon into some national issue. So we expect this decision in June, which of course you know, Phil, it'll be the heart of the presidential campaign season.
Yeah, plenty of politics involved, at least outside the Supreme Court. Meg, can you explain to people how commonly is this drug used? How does it actually work?
Yeah, Phil, increasingly commonly. We just got new data showing that medication abortion accounted for 63% of all abortions accounted for in the formal healthcare system in 2023. There were more than 1 million abortions in that year, so that's more than 600,000 people who access this medication. It's a regimen of two drugs, mifepristone, the one at issue here in this case, as well as misoprostol. This has been approved by the FDA since 2000, up to 10 weeks of pregnancy. It is 95 to 98% effective. It's also used, as you mentioned, for care for miscarriages. Now, in terms of the safety, which was a lot of what's being discussed in this case, studies have shown that there are 0.3% risk of major complications using medication abortion, Phil. So this is a drug that's been on the market for 24 years in the United States, and the record, researchers say, is strong.
Yeah, it's critical research as these arguments, and we await a decision in the months ahead. Paula Reed, Meg Terrell, thank you both very much. And joining us now is the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood, Alexis McGill Johnson. We appreciate your time this morning. I want to start where Meg left off. This case brought by a group of anti-abortion doctors that claimed mifepristone is a danger to women. I want you to listen to how Erin Hawley described things after the oral argument. She's a senior counsel arguing against mifepristone.
Without question, the FDA's actions have made taking chemical abortion drugs less safe. Today, I argued before the United States Supreme Court on behalf of doctors and medical associations who have witnessed these harms firsthand. The FDA violated federal law and its duty to keep women safe.
Alexis, has your organization or healthcare providers that you work with documented any persistent or dangerous side effects of mifepristone?
No, Josh. And look, I mean, the reality is that we know through multiple studies that the FDA has conducted and been privy to that mifepristone has been used safely and effectively by over 5 million people in the United States alone for over 20 years. 70% of Planned Parenthood patients choose to use mifepristone for their abortion care. And I think what I happened to be in the courtroom today, which was an incredible honor to hear the argument and also to really see how much the justices were struggling with the very hypothetical nature of the plaintiff's argument for standing and how that would balance with a remedy that would, in essence, affect all people across the country, not just in states where abortion bans are currently restricting access to mifepristone, but in states like New York and California and Illinois, that many people across the entire country have come to rely on medication abortion for their health care. And I think it was very, very surprising, even now, and jarring, quite frankly, to hear the plaintiff's attorney tried to make an argument once again that her plaintiffs would be subject to a harm when in fact it is the abortion bans that have resulted from the Dobbs decision that in fact are really harming the patients and also, I believe, the providers as well.
So when you walked out of the courtroom earlier today, it seems like you were confident that this case will break your way when the decision comes.
I felt confident on the arguments. I felt confident with the questions and the skepticism that was raised, as I just put. And I also, am soberly reminded that this is the same court that delivered Dobbs. This is the same court that a conservative supermajority that was appointed by former President Trump, who was himself, proclaimed interest in seeing a national abortion ban. And that continues to concern me. And I think should concern us all. So while I think the lack of standing that seemed to be apparent through the questioning and the lack of any discussion around the merits, because the science, I think, was so convincing, should give us some measure of security, but that only is when we are in a system and a structure, with a court that, quite frankly, I think has demonstrated that it is willing to go outside of those various notions in its rulings.
We only have about 10 seconds left, but you mentioned the presumptive Republican nominee. Do you feel like this issue will be a determining factor in the 2024 campaign?
Oh, it already is, Josh. I mean, we have seen abortion rights be on the ballot since the Dobbs decision in earnest nationally. As you know, every state where we have had abortion ballot initiatives, reproductive freedom is one, and we will continue to fight to make sure that happens.
Alexis McGilligan Johnson, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.